Hi guys, it's Elena from financialdemics.com, and today we're going to talk about the 5 different methods to pay off debt. The 2 most popular ways to pay off debt is using the Snowball Method and the Avalanche Method. There are other ways that you can actually pay off debt, so don't think that you're held into those 2 different categories. And so I just want to talk about those different ways. The thing about personal finance is that it's personal. So you're able to choose whatever method works for you and your family. With the Snowball Method, you are going to list your debts in the range from smallest debt to largest debt. The Snowball Method was made popular by Dave Ramsey, and with this method, you are going to list your debts in order from smallest balance to highest balance, and you are going to pay your debts off in that order. So once you pay off the first debt, you're going to take the amount that you were putting towards that first debt and move it to the second debt, and take that total and keep paying off the second debt until you get to the third debt, the fourth debt, and so on until you pay all of your debts off. And while you're putting that larger amount towards whatever debt you're working on, you're just going to continue paying the minimum payments on the rest of the debts that you have. The reason why this method is helpful for some people because it gives you the motivation to keep going. After you pay off that first debt, you're feeling good because it's a low balance. You're going to pay it off quickly, and then you're just going to jump to the next debt. And as you keep going, that's a snowball, and you'll actually feel really good about yourself because you're knocking out your debts quickly. Now, the second method is the avalanche method. And with the avalanche method, you're actually going to list your debts in order from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. And then you're going to pay them off in that order. So while you're working on the first debt that you have listed, you're going to continue paying the minimum payments on the rest of your debts. And as you pay off that first debt, you're going to move on to the next debt, and so on. The reason why some people like this method is because you're going to pay less interest because you are paying off your debt with the highest interest first. The third method I'm going to talk about is the Snowflake Method. Now, this method is the cousin to the Snowball Method. But instead of contributing a large amount towards your debt every month, what you're going to do is you're going to be making smaller payments more often towards your debt. The smaller payments may come from weekend jobs or selling items, but the great thing about the Snowflake Method is that you can use it by itself or you can use it in conjunction with any of the methods that I'm going to mention today. The next method I'm going to mention is the emotional method. I actually made this method up. I made this method up because personal finance is personal, and you'll hear me say that all the time. Sometimes people have debts that just really get on their nerves. It makes them angry when they look at it. They're just ready to get rid of it. So instead of following the Snowball Method or the Avalanche Method, just put your debts in order of which one gets on your nerves the most. I know about this personally because when I started paying off debt, I did have a private loan with good old Sally Mae before it became Navient, and I paid that off before I paid anything else off. I could not stand them. So that was mostly emotional for me. I just wanted to get rid of that particular private loan. I still have other student loans, but that one had to go. So using the emotional method, you can get rid of the debt that just really irks you, and it just makes you feel better, right? And sometimes it is about feelings. I know a lot of people talk about the math, and I am a math girl. Believe me, I'm an accountant, so I'm into the numbers, but sometimes it's just how it makes you feel. So if it makes you feel better to get rid of that debt first, then get rid of it first. Now, a quick side note I want to mention: if you owe the IRS or any government agency, please pay them first. I don't want you to get behind because they will garnish your paycheck, and that's not what we want. So go ahead, get rid of them before you do any of these methods that I mentioned. The last method I'm going to talk about is the minimum payment plus interest method. I made this up too. I made it up because when I was paying off debt, there was this situation that occurred where I had to pay for some large repairs. I did not want to go back to the minimum payment on my credit cards. So what I did was I looked at my statement, and if you've ever looked at your credit card statement and look at the interest that you're being charged, sometimes depending on whatever your minimum payment is, if you look at the interest, you pay your minimum and then half of that is coming back in interest. So instead of just paying the minimum payment, I decided to pay the minimum payment plus the interest until I got my money back up from paying for repairs. And that was really helpful. I was still able to see movement and paying down my debt during that period. And it actually helped reduce the interest. Now, I say when you start with the minimum payment plus interest method, of course, your interest is going to start to come down. And what I mean by interest, I mean the interest charges, not the actual interest percentage itself, but the dollar amount of interest that you get charged per month. But what I want you to do is stick with that same original amount that you calculated in the first place until you actually pay off your debt. It just made it easier during that time frame for me. And then once I actually had the funds to go back up and increase my payment on my debt, that's what I did. But if you have a low income, this is still a great way to pay off debt if you don't have that extra money to throw towards debt or the time to even give towards making more money. If you are currently paying off debt or you are looking to get started with paying off your debt, I hope these methods are helpful for you. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments below. Let me know which method you're going to use while paying off your debt, and make sure that you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.